Thrill Seekers. That was a little piece of a song called Do It by the Pink Fairies, at least my rendition of the intro to the song. And before we get started, I want to say that I will be in Europe, leaving in about a month, and the dates are about to appear on the screen by my Enlightenment magic. Bing! So as you can see, I will be in Finland and then Germany and then England. The dates are on the screen and the places. And if you want to attend any of those events, you can go to the URL that you're seeing on the screen below, which is hardcorezen.info/events, hardcorezen.info/events. Go there and there are clickable links where you can find out how to attend. All right, so yesterday I talked about miracles versus enlightenment, and I read some stuff by Dogen in an essay that he called Jinzu, which I called Buddhist superpowers. It just means kind of spiritual powers. And some people in the comments section were talking about demonstrations of enlightenment, like ways that people can demonstrate that they are enlightened. And yeah, this happens, and this is kind of an issue that I talked about even yesterday, but I think there's another passage in Dogen that we can talk about that might even make that clearer. And it is in book 4, if you're looking in the Nishijima Cross edition of Shobo Genzo. And the chapter is called, sound like a Dolly Parton, right? The chapter is called Tan Shin Tzu, the power to know others' minds. And it is all based on a koan, an old Zen story about this, the National Master Echu. And Dogen gives a whole bio of the National Master Echu, but all you have to know is the National Master Echu is a pretty enlightened guy, in Dogen's opinion. And a certain Dai Ni Sanzo from India arrives in the capital. That's where the National Master lives, saying, "I have attained the eye that intuits the mind of others." The emperor decrees that the National Master should examine him, and as soon as Sanzo meets the master, he prostrates himself at once and stands to the master's right, which is a polite thing to do. And by the way, Sanzo means big ears, so he was named Big Ears. And the master says, "Have you got the power to know others' minds?" Sanzo says, "I would not be so bold as to say so," which is a way of saying, yeah, he does. The master says, "Tell me where this old monk is right now. Tell me where I am right now." Sanzo says, "Master, you are the teacher of the whole country. Why have you gone to the West River to watch a boat race?" The master asks a second time, "Tell me where the old monk is just now." Sanzo says, "Master, you are a teacher of the whole country. Why are you on Tianjin Bridge watching someone play with a monkey?" The master asks a third time, "Tell me where the old monk is just now." Sanzo takes a good while, but he does not know where the master has been. The master scolds him, saying, "You ghost of a wild fox, you big fake. Where is your power to know others' minds?" Sanzo has no answer. And what Dogen does with this koan is there are a few, let me just read them to you. There's a few different sort of traditional explanations of this, and I'll just read them to you instead of trying to explain them. A monk asks Joshua, one of the masters of the past, "Daini Sanzo does not see where the National Master is the third time. I wonder where the National Master is." Joshu says he is right on Sanzo's nostrils. A master asks Gensa, another old master of the past, "If he is already on Sanzo's nostrils, why does Sanzo not see him?" Gensa says, "Simply because of being enormously close." A monk asks Kyozan, "Why does Daini Sanzo not see the National Master the third time?" Kyozan says, "The first 2 times the master's mind is concerned with external circumstances. Then he enters the samadhi of receiving and using the self." This is a great... Dogen goes on and on about the samadhi of receiving and using the self. It's a high meditative state. And so Sanzo does not see him. Kai Shutan says, "If the National Master is right on Sanzo's nostrils, what difficulty could Sanzo have in seeing him? Above all, it has not been recognized that the National Master is inside Sanzo's eyeballs." Gensa chides Sanzo, You, say, have you seen it at all even the first 2 times? Zen Master Myokaku Juken of Secho says, I am defeated, I am defeated. That's the whole story. So what Dogen does, basically, in this thing, TLDR, is he says, look, the National Master never says, tell me what I'm thinking about, tell me what's in my mind. He says, tell me where this old monk is just now. Tell me where I am just now. So the moral of the story, according to Dogen, is the Sanzo, Big Ears, doesn't know where the National Master is any of the times. He gets the answer wrong all 3 times, not just the last time. And he says some interesting stuff, which I highlighted. What is called in India the power to know others' minds should be called the power to know the images in others' minds. Mind readers may dimly detect on the outer edges of perception images arising in the mind. In the absence of images in the mind, however, they are dumbfounded. That must be laughable. Moreover, the mind is not always mental images, and mental images are not always the mind. When the mind becomes the image, the power to know others' minds cannot know it, and when the image becomes the mind, the power to know others' minds cannot equal it. And then he talks about the 5 powers, and I had to go look those up to remind myself of what those are. And here's what they are according to a footnote in the Soto Shu Shumucho, the evil organization's very nice translation, very good translation of Shobo Genzo that they put out recently. Their footnote says the 5 powers includes 1. The ability to transform the body and move about by psychic travel. 2. Paranormal vision. 3. Paranormal hearing. 4. The knowledge of others' minds. And 5. The knowledge of past lives. And also there's a 6th power, which is the knowledge of the exhaustion of spiritual contaminants. That's how they call it. And only people who know Buddhism have that one. So he says, Dogen says, how could a person who attaches importance to time as somebody who's really serious about doing Buddhist practice, how could that person want to learn the 5 or 6 powers? In sum, we should decisively affirm the principle that the power to read others' minds cannot reach the boundary of the Buddha's wisdom. And here's the line. I'll just read it to you in Dogen's own words as translated by Gudo Nishijima and Chodo Cross, Mike Cross. The National Master never says, tell me where the old monk's mind is just now. He does not say, where are the old monk's thoughts just now. What he says is an expression of the state which is extremely necessary to observe and to inspect. And in conclusion here, Dogen says, now if we say that there is a power to know others' minds in the Buddha Dharma, there must be the power to know others' bodies. There must be the power to know others' fists. Fists is kind of the person, what the person actually is. That's kind of a way of saying that. And there must be the power to know others' eyes. That being so, there must be the power to know our own mind, and there must be the power to know our own body. If the state is like this already, self-command of our mind may be nothing other than the power to know our own mind. When expressions like this are realized, the state may be the power to know others' minds, which naturally emerges from the self itself and from the mind itself. Now let us ask, is it right to command the power to know others' minds, or is it right to command the power to know our own minds? Speak at once. Setting that aside, we can conclude that you have got my marrow. That's Bodhidharma's expression of his of confirming the enlightenment of one of his students. Is just the power to know others' minds. So he kind of wraps that up. But the whole thing about demonstrating your enlightenment is that there is no way to demonstrate enlightenment. That's why I don't even like this word enlightenment, or even if it's other sort of synonyms and whatever's, like awakening, or I don't know, whatever they are. They just... Okay. When I first started getting into this Buddhism thing, I read that book, The 3 Pillars of Zen by Roshi Philip Kapleau. That's what it said on the cover of the version that I owned. And there were a lot of stories of people's so-called Kensho experiences. And Kensho means seeing nature, literally two characters, seeing nature, and it means seeing the true nature of things. And I thought that enlightenment was when you had that experience of kensho. You saw the true nature of things, and there you go, enlightened. You know, there's that moment of seeing the true nature of things, and bada bing, bada boom, enlightened forever. That is kind of a mistake, because I would have to say that actually having a kensho experience of kensho is not common, but it's not that uncommon. It happens to people, and it's not enough to just have that. You've got to kind of integrate it into the whole person. But this kind of glimpse, this kind of, I say glimpse as if you just kind of see it, but it transforms the whole person. And as I said yesterday, sometimes one of the side effects of that transformation is you find out you have abilities that you didn't have before, and you find out you can do things that you couldn't do before. Also, the outcome of doing lots and lots of meditation can give you certain abilities related to that meditation. For example, endurance, being able to endure pain, like we talked about yesterday in the case of the monk that I talked about, the Vietnamese monk I talked about, had apparently, my guess is that during long practices of meditation, doing a lot of it, probably from an early age, I don't know his whole bio, he had learned endurance to a great level. Even the amount of zazen I've done, which is a lot by normal people's standards and not a lot by, maybe the standards of some of these temple-bound monks who live years and years in monasteries, gave me a sense of being able to endure a lot of stuff that I couldn't endure before. So you can find these abilities, and you can kind of demonstrate these abilities if you want to. I don't think that's very useful. The power to know others' minds, my own experience is that one finds out that human beings are much more alike than I had ever suspected before. So I knew that people are the same wherever you go. I hope I sang that badly enough that Paul McCartney's people won't find me. It's from, is it Ebony and Ivory? Anyway, people are the same. You can understand people are the same wherever you go, and they kind of have the same, they all have one butthole and all this other stuff, and you can understand that. But there's a kind of depth of similarity to human beings that it runs so deep that it becomes clear that we are all expressions of the same thing. And not even like, okay, in a big metaphysical sense, we're all expressions of the same thing. This bookshelf behind me is also an expression of the same underlying reality. But when it comes to particular things within that reality, the human beings are expressions of the same aspect of this reality. All human beings are expressions of the same aspect of this reality. And so you can kind of figure people out really easily. And this is one of the dangers I've talked about in meditation. I think that a lot of people who go through this process find that ability, and this is where the sort of enlightenment thing gets weird, because you can find you have that ability, and you can use that to become kind of a master manipulator if you want to practice at it. And I shouldn't even say this because somebody will probably take me up on it and do it. Don't do it, because it's a trap. It will lead you and everybody else into bad things. It might seem like you can gain something by this, but you won't. You'll never gain anything by it, because there's nothing to gain and nothing to lose. And everybody's kind of, dealing with the same deck here, and it doesn't work like that. So you can do that. But this whole thing of demonstrating enlightenment, I think it's very dodgy. When I first started doing this practice and getting interested in it, I was, as I've said often, I wasn't convinced that Zen was the path I wanted to go down. I was more interested in the sort of Hindu path, actually, and more interested in Hindu teachers. And one of the people I remember coming across was Satya Sai Baba, who's a very, I think he's dead now. I'm sure he must be dead by now, but I think he was still alive at the time. But he was very popular, and he was this sort of guru guy in India who had a big afro and stuff, and he was very charismatic. And one of the things he could do was that he would demonstrate his enlightenment by producing this kind of sand or something from his palms. He would do some kind of I don't know. I never at the time there wasn't video you could see of it. There probably is now, but he would kind of do this thing, and this stuff, this golden sand would come out of his hands. He would magically make it appear, and that was to demonstrate how enlightened he was. There's all kinds of people who can do that. It turned out in Sai Baba's case, I think it's been pretty well confirmed that this was kind of a magic trick that he'd learned. But I remember confronting my first teacher about that, and he said, "Well, these things can be possible." And this is sort of the opinion that Dogen expresses. He never says, well, it's all conjuring tricks and sleight of hand and stuff. He kind of says, well, maybe these things are possible. Maybe this paranormal stuff is possible. But it's not a demonstration of enlightenment. It's just a demonstration of a skill. And a lot of people can demonstrate impressive skills. Some people can lift really heavy weights. Some people can run real fast. Some people can jump real high. Some people can play the guitar real well. I'm not one of them, but I'm okay. Anyway, so the demonstration of a specific power, even if it's a psychic power, just means you've worked on that psychic power, or that whatever it is, and gotten good at it, and you can demonstrate that power. Now, there is a tradition, though, that Dogen is kind of bucking in this chapter that I just summarized for you just now, which says that one of the effects of enlightenment is to come by those 5 powers that I just enumerated. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but and so some people see that as evidence of enlightenment. I don't know. It can be evidence of having that kind of Kensho experience, of having that kind of glimpse into things and what comes along with that. But whether it is the kind of awakening we're looking for in Buddhism or not is the big question. And Dogen's opinion is that it's not. His opinion, as expressed in this, is the national master in that story is saying, where am I right now? Where am I right now? And one good answer, or at least a partial answer, would be you're standing right in front of me. Not trying to look in his mind, just go, that statement of the bare facts. I think that's the one probably Nishijima Roshi would have liked best. There are other ways that might get a little bit more mystical and a little deeper into the matter of things than that would also express more or less the same thing. But the idea is that this world, without any woo-woo attached, is, as I said yesterday, the great miracle, the big miracle. And to be right here in this world is a manifestation of the big miracle, and you don't have to do the special thing to show. What's my hair doing? It's popping up. Anyway, my hair popping up is a miracle. It's a sign of enlightenment. So, this idea that I think one of my commenters expressed, that a lot of people who claim to be enlightened would be embarrassed because they can't demonstrate it. You can demonstrate it. You just can't. It can't be demonstrated. But there is something, at least in my own experience, that one can feel when one is in the presence of somebody who is at least a little further along than you are. And I felt this something immediately upon meeting my 2 teachers. And that's kind of probably the biggest thing that hooked me in. That weird something or other that was kind of oozing out of them. In a way, it wasn't literally oozing, but it was there. And I don't know. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I know that a lot of people around me at the time, in the case of both teachers, couldn't see it. Just could not see it, including some people who were very proudly proclaiming themselves, and still to this day proclaim themselves to be the disciple of the people that I studied with. Couldn't see it. Just couldn't see it. And, it's like the old saying, there's an old Indian saying that goes something like, if a pickpocket meets a saint, all he can see are the saint's pockets. So it's something like that, and sometimes that's what we're seeing. And in the case of somebody like Sai Baba demonstrating his enlightenment by showing you the weird dust out of his hand, you're just that's the pickpocket just seeing the pockets, seeing something I can gain from that. And a lot of people who hovered around, especially my second teacher, Nishijima Roshi, were looking for something to gain from him. So they were just looking at his pockets. They weren't looking at the real thing. So that can be an issue, and that can be a problem, and that can be a thing that maybe we should look out for. And there you go. I'm just giving you a little hint if you want. Okay, I've talked enough about that. I don't know if I've made my point or not. It's probably all gobbledygook. But if you want to contribute to me doing more gobbledygook, you can go to the links that are down below in the description if you're on YouTube, or if you don't like that, you can go to this URL, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen.info/donate. There you will find links to my PayPal and Patreon accounts. Those are my main ways of making a living, and I appreciate your support. But as always, you don't got to support me if you don't want to support me. All right, and we will see you again. Have a nice time all the time. That is not my catchphrase. It's have a good time all the time, and it is not the final line in Spinal Tap, but it is very close to the end of Spinal Tap. One of the members of the fictional heavy metal band Spinal Tap says, somebody says, "What's your philosophy?" And he says, "My philosophy is have a good time all the time." Anyway, we'll see you next time. Have a good time all the time. Bye. Hey, Ziggy. Ziggy, do you have the power to know others' minds? It's so kind of... I made him calm down about the workers in the house making scrapey noises all day long. And he's kind of settled, but I can tell it really bugs him. So that's why I'm not going to bother him while he's sleeping. Anyway, there you go. You can see cute Ziggy. All right, Ziggy. We'll talk to you later. Bye.